Hi everyone, thank you very much for watching this video and for subscribing to my channel. So this time I have a very cool video for you to try. We're going to talk about controlling DMX 512 protocol lights or fixtures. Anything that runs on DMX 512 you can pretty much control with the Falcon Controller and xLights. So I'm sure you've seen all these videos, about running shows, and you've seen how some people can actually control this type of lights, which are like dumb lights. They don't do much. All they do is they just lit and that's it. You can't do much. You plug them to the wall and they turn on. That's it. But we can actually control them. The only thing we can do is turn them off and turn them on, But we can come up with a sequence so you can turn them on whenever you want and turn them off whenever you want, to the rhythm of the music if you want. So we're gonna know how to control this light using the DMX 512 protocol and the Falcon Controller and xLights. So let's jump right into it so you can know how you can control these lights. So I have this slide on the back, and this pretty much summarizes what we can do. So the way DMX 512 works is that you have a cable that comes into the device and then it goes out to the next device and then to the next device and so on and so on. You can hook up to 32 devices to my knowledge. And on each of these ports you have 512 channels. So what's a channel? Just think of it of a action that you can perform with that device. As an example, let's say that you have a moving head type of light, just like this one. So one channel will be occupied to move it up and down, the second channel to the sides, that third channel you will lit it up, and so on and so on. So each of those devices is taking up a few channels. It all depends, how fancy that light is. As an example, I have here in the bottom something that I found on Amazon. So these moving head lights, it says that it's using 9 or 11 channels, meaning that you can use 9 or 11 channels per device, per light, and you can control some of the movements, some of the intensity when it comes to the lights and so on. So that means that you can have as many as 32 as long as you don't run out of channels on this. Now, the Falcon Controller has 3 ports using a RJ45 type of connector, which is basically an Ethernet cord. And I'm going to show you how you can plug, we're going to plug one of those cords to one of these ports, and we're going to use a device to turn on and off those dumb lights, like I show you. Okay. So let's move to the next slide. So now, like I said, the Falcon Controller has four connectors, RJ45, and right now we're going to use port number 3, and let me explain you why. So first of all, the first port, DMX1, is using output 1, positive and negative, output 2, positive and negative, number 3, positive and negative, and output 4, positive and negative. So even there's only 3 ports, we have one extra DMX port that we can use, but we can only get it through DMX number 1. Now, if you look at DMX number 2 and DMX 3, this is a little bit more easy to understand because we only have data plus and data minus, or output 3, because we're using port number 3, and also output 3 negative, and we have ground. So we only need 3 wires to connect to our device so we can turn on and off. Now, what device am I talking about? I'm talking about this. This is a Dmx Relay Switch, meaning that we can turn on and off 3 different devices, or 3 whatever is connected to port number 1 or number 2 or number 3, as long as you don't go over 10 amps. This is rated for DC and AC alternate current type of of current. So up to 250 watts, 10 amps. So keep in mind that 10 amps is as much as you can run. So we're going to use 125 volts to run these lights because we just plug them into the wall. This is the device we're going to be using. I found this on Amazon for 19, almost 20 bucks. And I'm going to show you how to use it. It's going to be a very cool project, okay? You will see. And again, we're going to use DMX number 3. And you will understand a little bit more about what I'm talking about, okay? And again, we're going to be using this type of cord, which is just an Ethernet. And if you look closer to that chart, we have pin number 1, which is white orange, pin number 2, which is orange solid, and then pin number 7 and 8, which is brown and white brown. So the ground is using 2 cables. You can only use one, but we're using both of them. So here I have brown and white brown. They're twisted together. Then we have orange, and then we have white orange. Okay, so we're only going to be using these 3 cables, and you can just cut one end of your Ethernet cord and just split them out. Okay, that's what we're going to be using. More in the next slide. Now, a fair warning: try it at your own risk. By continuing watching this video, you agree that if you decide to try what I'm just about to show you, it's at your own risk. You should understand that electrocution could be possible if you do not exercise all necessary precautions. If you don't understand the basics of high voltage and its risk, please don't try it without an expert supervision. You also agree that the creator of this video, me, will not be responsible for any damage caused to electronic equipment for not following the instructions mentioned in this video. I'm a self-taught person with no formal instruction or training in electric components. Just a fair warning, okay? You're gonna try this at your own risk. I'm alive, so that means that it worked, right? So just be very careful what you're gonna do, because you're gonna use 125 volts coming out of your wallet. From your wall. So be very careful with it, okay? So now, let me show you the next slide. So here we go. This is where the fun starts, okay? So again, we have this device, but I have a close-up of what we're doing. So let me show you exactly how this is gonna work. So this device runs on 5 volts to 48 DC volts, okay? So you're going to need a small power supply. It doesn't have to be a big one, as long as it has 5 volts or up to 48 volts. DC current, okay? You can use the same power supply that you're using for running your show, okay? Just give some energy. This energy is just to run the circuit, okay? You're not running the lights with it. This is just to give power to this board, okay? Now, this is the DMX 512 port. It only has 3 connections, right? Data positive, data negative, and ground. So, just like I show you, we're going to plug our Ethernet cord just like that. The white orange goes in the data positive. The orange goes into the data negative. And the twisted pair of white brown and brown goes to number 3, which is the ground. And that's all we need to do when it comes to plugging this into our Falcon controller. And again, let me go back to that slide. It's gonna go to port number 3, which is the one on the bottom, okay? It just plugs right in, okay? Now, these are the relays that actually closes the circuit. And there's nothing fancy about them. I just have a small graphic here on the bottom for you to understand. How it works is very simple. You got 12 volts that somehow energize this magnet, and when this magnet is on, all it's going to do is just bring that lever down and close the circuit for 110 or 125 volts AC. It all depends where you live, okay? So this is very basic. It's a mechanical relay, okay? So you're gonna hear some clicking as we turn on and off the lights. You're gonna be some clicking, okay? Now, everything on this side is 12 volts or 5 volts, okay? But on this side, this is where the danger starts, because we're gonna connect it to the wall. You need to identify which is your hot wire, you know, which brings 125 volts, and which one is your neutral, which is like the ground, you know, that you're gonna put on the lights. So more of this because I'm gonna show you this live, and I'm gonna show you the device, how I plug it in, and how I decided to use it with my controller, okay? So you need to be very, very careful what you do. Don't get mixed up with the neutral and the hot, because you can get electrocuted or get a really bad shock, okay? So do this at your own risk, okay? So now, how this is gonna work is we're gonna bring the hot wire, and the way to identify which one is which is on the plug. The one that is wider, that's the neutral. The one that is not that wide, that is smaller, that's the power, that's the hot. It's live, that has the current, okay? So be careful with that. So neutral, you okay with it? That's why we have it out here. But hot is gonna go into connection number 2, 4, and 6, okay? And I'm gonna show you that on the board, okay? And then from here, for number 1, 3, and 5, we're gonna run our cables to our lights, okay? So this is actually the bridge that we are closing, right? When the relay closes, the whole circuit closes, and then the light turns on. That's 1, 2, and 3. Now this uses 3 channels, okay? Now, why 3 channels? Because the only thing we're controlling is on and off for port number 1, on and off for 2, on and off for 3, okay? That's all we can do. In some other devices, they have some other functions, but in this one, it's only on and off. And for that, I'm gonna show you in xLights how we're gonna control that, okay? So keep in mind about this. So now let me show you, let me get things plugged in, and I'll be right back in 1 minute. Please stay with me, okay? Okay, and I'm back. So let me show you what I have so far. So I have our relay tablet or circuit right here. I have plugged a small power supply, 12 volts, to the input, you know, to this two, no. Okay, and I'm back. So let me show you the setup that I have. So I have a small power supply, 12 volts, powering our board, right? It has the negative and the positive plug into the first 2 inputs in this board. I also have an Ethernet cable that I just cut to one side, and I have the white-orange number 1, the orange number 2, and the brown, white, and brown in port number 3, just like we saw in our diagram. So what I'm going to do now is power it up and see what happens, okay? So I'm going to plug it into the wall. And now we have power. We have a red LED that just lit. So that means that we got power into the board. So now I'm going to plug our Ethernet cable to port number 3 on our Falcon controller. The Falcon controller is turned on, is powered, so we should be good. Now as soon as I plug it in, I now got a blue light blinking. So that means that we got DMX 512 data flowing between our controller and the board. So this is good, okay? So now we got communication. So now let's go into xLights and see if we can control the board. So I have xLights here in the back, and the first thing I'm gonna do is go into the layout. And I'm gonna grab this icon in here, which is a create a new DMX. I'm gonna click on it, and I got different options: general, floodlight, area flood, moving head, and so on. I'm gonna select general because this is none of the options that we have. So general, and I'm just gonna drop it right here. Now on the left side, it's telling me that it has 8 channels. 1 through 8, but I'm gonna make a small change because I know this device only uses 3 channels, and I'm gonna put channel number 1 as a red channel, channel number 2 as a green, and channel number 3 as the blue. Now don't get confused with these words that we're using over here. It's just the way that xLights think about the DMX, thinking that we're gonna control a RGB type of device. Okay, so we got 3 channels divided like this. So I'm going to save them, and now I'm going to move into my sequence to see if it works. Now I know that it's not going to work, but I wanted you to try it first, and I'm going to show you how to fix it because you need to be aware of what we're doing. Okay, so I'm going to teach you a few things here. So now that we have all these 3 channels defined, I'm going to go into my sequencer, and I'm gonna start a new sequence. It's gonna be just animation, 20 frames per second, a quick start. And now I got a DMX general timing here that I can use. So now I'm gonna drop the DMX that we have over here. Gonna put it right here. I'm gonna expand this to see the seconds. So now I have 1, 2, 3, 4 seconds. I'm gonna drag it and put it over here. So now I'm gonna turn the communication on between xLights and my controller. I'm gonna select it, and I'm gonna move this to over here. Okay, so nothing. I see nothing happening. So this is what is going on. Okay. So let me go back to the layout. I'm going to turn it off, and then I'm going to go to my layout. So here it says that this device, it starts on channel number 1 and goes all the way to channel number 3. Well, let's go to our controller and see what's the setup for port number 3. So I'm going to open the browser. I already have my Falcon controller open here, and I'm going to go to the output settings and the serial outputs. So first of all, just make sure that everything is DMX, the type of the data that's going to flow through these ports. But I can see that on port number 3, the address starts at 1025. If you remember from that first slide or second slide that I showed you, we have 512 channels per port. So this is 1 to 512. This is 513 to 1024. And this starts at 1025. So we plug it into the connection number 3. So we need to make sure that it starts on 1025. Okay, and we have it right now at channel number 1. So we need to go back to xLights and tell them that it starts in 1025. So so here it says 1. So start channel is not 1, it's 1025. Okay, so I'm gonna click save. I'm going to click render all, and let's try it again. Let's go into the sequencer. I'm going to select this timeline. I'm going to turn it on, the communication between xLights and my controller. And now let's see what happens if I move this to the right. Oh, there we go. Now we can turn it on and off. That's one of the channels. Let's go with the second one. There we go. Okay, the third one. There we go. I can turn them all 3 on if you want. Okay, so this is how we're going to control this board. Now all we have to do is select a number between halfway, and it will just turn it on. Okay, this number goes all the way to 255. And in some cases, if you're controlling like one of those moving heads, as you start moving one of these, the head will start moving slowly to one side to another. So this is how, by entering or sliding this bar, you will move the those lights, okay? But for this, it's just a switch, on and off, okay? So good. So now if I want to control this, let's say that I have this one over here, and this one's going to be on. Now I'm going to select it and let me turn it off, and do a control copying and click over here, Control V. I have a copy of that. I'm going to click in here, Control V also. So now I have 3. So now I'm going to select this one. I'm going to, let's say that this is going to be off, but this one is going to be on. Now number 2. And this one, all are off, but 3 is going to be on. Okay, so 3 on, 2 on. Let me drag it a little bit more, and 1 on. Okay, so let's see what happens now that we run it. So keep an eye on the board on the bottom. Okay. Oh, I need to turn it on, right? Communication on. And there we go. We're controlling lights now, right? On and off. That's what we're doing. You can also add a layer below and add more to the bottom. Right? I can put one down here. I can drag these ones. Let me turn everything off. And like this, you know. Let's turn all 3 on in here. Okay. So, gonna come right here, turn on. Let's see what happens. Huh? What do you think? Pretty cool, right? So it's not that hard to control DMX devices with xLights, okay? So, okay, so far so good. We've proven that we have communication, that we can control the switch. So now let's take it to the next level, which will be actually plugging lights to our board, okay? So for that, I'm going to leave you again for 1 minute. I'm going to move my controller out of the way. We don't need it anymore. I just put it there to show you the connection, but I'm just going to take it out of the scene and connect some lights to it, okay? So I'll be back in 1 minute. Okay, and I'm back. So let me show you what I have. So pretty much I have the cord that goes plugged into the wall, and I have the common feeding the common side of all these extension cords, and then the live cable is feeding port number 2, 4, and 6. And this is just an example for this board. You know, if you get another board, you just follow to see where the live goes into. And then in 1, 3, and 5, I have now the live going into the extension cords. So the relay, the only thing it's going to do is close the circuit between this and each of these extension cords. This is power on, and we can tell that it's receiving the MX512 data, and I've just plugged some dumb lights at the end of these extension cords. So now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to plug it into the wall, and let's go back to xLights and see if we can turn this on and off. Okay, so now this cable is live. So let's go back to xLights. I'm gonna minimize this just a little bit. And here we have our sequence. So I'm just gonna click in here and let's see what happens. And there we go, we're controlling lights now. Again. Pretty cool, right? So that's it, my friends. I mean, this is a very simple project, a cheap solution for just 20 bucks and a few extension cords, you know, and a Ethernet cable, okay? Now, there are some other options. Yes, they are. And let me show you. Just go into Amazon. Let me minimize this. And let's search for Dmx Relay for example, we have this large for $253. You get 6 channels in a enclosure, you know, very professional. You got the data in and the data out, so you could daisy chain all this if you want. It comes with a price. There's some smaller options. This is $290 for 4 ports. Our project costs $20 for 3 ports. Okay. This is the board that I chose. We have another one. Here's another one for $150. This is 4 connections. So it's up to you what you want to try. I thought it was a really nice project to show you how you can start from scratch and with very little money. So guys, thank you very much again for watching. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so. And thank you very much for staying with me up to the end of this video. Thank you.